Fellas, in Marvel Rivals, your Vanguard decides whether your team pushes forward or crumbles under the pressure. With Season 3.5 shaking up the balance, it's time to find out which tanks are true juggernauts and which ones need to be benched. Obviously, not every tank is treated equally, so let's get into it. But before we do hop into it, please, if you see your Vanguard going into the fight, please follow them. And I really hate to say this, if you have two tanks and one keeps running to the back line, it's okay to leave that tank and go to the other one who's actually playing. So just getting right into it for the Vanguard tier list, no one is going to be surprised by who is obviously going to be the best pick for a Vanguard. Emma Frost. Basically, since they came out, they've been the best. They got a little bit of a nerf recently, and they got a buff as well. But they can shield, they can solo tank, they're good as a duo tank. They can somewhat deal with the divers. Honestly, one of the best tanks for the frontline because she can also kick people back. Her basic attack, not only do you get more damage the more that you attack, actually is pretty long. You're not likely to be hitting the flyers with it, unfortunately, but if they're somewhat close by, you can get them. And then she has her prism crystal suck thing that someone's trying to run away. Boom, you grab it, you can still get the pick. And then if you're just in a general fight, good to use, deals double the damage. Has a fantastic team up with Psylocke, who has been and still is insanely good as a DPS. And then Magneto, basically the other goated Vanguard. Not much more I could say for Emma. Not much more you could really ask for. One con is that her ultimate does kind of suck. You really got to combo it with other ultimates, and I think I like having ones that are strong on their own. But I do appreciate not every character has a ultimate that is just good on their own. But that's really the only con I can think about her. But yeah, she is a fantastic tank. Literally nothing more you could really ask for. And someone who's on the opposite end of that is Peni. Now, Peni is great if you are on defense and you have time to set up, especially on domination matches. But on convoy, she's honestly not that bad. But primarily, you need to have Rocket with her to get the most out of her. And then if you're on offense, you're not going to be doing much with Peni. Definitely not a solo tank, and even as a duo tank, I'm still not super thrilled to have her on the team. And then once her mines are destroyed, which a lot of people don't seem to do yet at the moment to specifically seek them out, she's basically garbage. She can stop some ultimates with her web. She can somewhat deal with the divers if she snares them into her mines. I know a lot of divers do like to ban Peni, but if you break the nest, the rest of your team breaks the nest, it's not great. But those times when she does get set up, the times when she can shine, chef's kiss to Peni. But majority of the other time, no, you don't want her on the team. Not a bad Vanguard, all in all, and she's better than nothing. Yeah, better choices. Also, her ultimate is, I can't even suggest to combo it with other ultimates because it's just not a good ultimate. She did get some buffs, which is very good for her, so that she can move faster when she shoots and she crits now. But even then, it's still just not it. And then you really need to have Rocket if you play Peni. If you haven't thought much about it yet, Rocket is the better ban pick for Peni because it gets rid of Peni. And it bans a kind of spammy, decent healer. Now, I think one of my favorite Vanguards, we got Thor. I know he gets a lot of hate, but he did get some nice changes. I do think the rework that was done to him is good, although he needs a little bit more survivability. But he's very good with burst damage, he's very good with getting picks, especially if you are a good Thor. He can, I don't want to say deal with the flyers per se, but he can handle them. And now his E ability, the lightning circle, can stop some ultimates, which is pretty snazzy. He's not really a good frontline solo Vanguard, but I have played games with just a solo Thor, and he does pretty well if they play him right. But mostly he is there just to lay down some constant good damage as a Vanguard. I do think he needs just a little bit extra to kind of do more with him. And I think in the upcoming season, they're going to do something with his team up with Hela. Just because right now it's not really a good team up. So I'm interested to see what they do with that. He is well above Peni because he can play him both offensively and defensively. He can get out, he can get in, he can help take enemies to your team to get picks. And again, he just has like good solid burst damage. No shields, womp womp. And then thanks to his change up, he can now cancel his Awakening rune, so that if someone is throwing up a shield, which will block his projectiles, he can stop it and then just bash him with his hammer. There are so many other better picks, but he is probably one of the most fun Vanguards to play. Now, this might be a little controversial, and I do stand on it. Hulk is only B tier, and I do think he's actually just a little bit worse than Thor. That doesn't mean that every Hulk player is like that, just as a general. His team up was with Namor, which, like, he needs a new team up at this point. He can be a little bit tricky to kill, but honestly, even in his ultimate form, everyone is focusing on the Hulk. He will jump to the enemy backline, not really necessarily get picks, just do a little bit of damage and jump out. He does have a nice shield for a few moments that boosts his ult charge, but still not really all that great. He can exile a hero for a few seconds, unless he hits them. I do like that feature, especially if there's just one person kind of holding back your team. He's not bad. This is B tier, right? Like, it's not like it's, oh my god, don't use it. It's just really there's better picks. If you want someone to get in the enemy backline, cause havoc, Captain America. You want someone who can shield? You got Magneto or any of the shield tanks. You got someone who you just want to do some basic melee damage. You got Thor, you got Venom. Hulk is mostly played for his team up with Namor, but the squid that you get from it just isn't worth it enough to justify the Hulk solely on its own. Again, B tier, none of these characters necessarily are bad, aside from Peni. There's just better characters to play. He's pretty fun though, I will give him that. Groot, ooh, not up there. Groot used to be in the banner use tier for quite a long while. They did nerf him a little bit, and he is primarily a projectile tank. You can melee, but no real reason to do that. His basic attack is a projectile, his seed bomb thing is a projectile. The most you're using with him is his walls, and those are more or less easy to take down, especially now with Emma Frost, who can build up her charge and keep her charge from his walls. But his ultimate is very strong. He gets it insanely fast. His team ups with Jeff and Rocket are not really anything to write home about, but he does have a nice team up with Mantis, and Mantis honestly is pretty decent. To get that bonus healing wall, he's good for blocking a ton of damage and doing a ton of damage. I think he did drop just a little bit, just from how viable other characters can be and his team up. If you never play Groot, he can be a little bit tricky to learn, but definitely fun to play. And while his ultimate is very good on its own, most of the time I find that it's something that pops the enemy ults over getting picks. But when you do get them, it feels so good. His biggest drawback is his projectile only, which isn't great to deal with, especially with a lot of the shield tanks. And then throwing his ultimate onto a wall to ensnare people kind of up in the air, very, very clever to do. He's very technical. That is also a big con for him, but still so darn good. You can get a lot out of him. He's a little slow though. He is what I think is like one of the best like frontline tanks in the game. And then we got Captain America, who is most definitely not a frontline tank. Easy A. Now, I don't think Captain America has gotten any buffs since the game came out. Every time I read about it, it's Captain America's got another nerf, he got another nerf, he's got another nerf. He does have a team up with Bucky. It's honestly pretty cool when you do get to use it, but it's not like a make or break type deal. His shield is really good for not only blocking projectiles, but deflecting projectiles. Something that can not only stop, but deflect an Iron Man ult or like a Magneto ult. His ultimate is good for keeping Captain America alive if you already have like a little bit of health as a safety net. Good for stalling points, good for kind of getting your team onto an objective if they decide to follow you. But mostly with Captain America, it's diving the enemy backline, just causing a general annoyance to the enemy supports. Sometimes you get picks, sometimes you don't. There is a learning curve, a learning gap that isn't talked about all that much with them. But Captain America, not really a good solo tank. He's not really frontlining, but what he is doing is diving the enemy backline. Someone with a lot of health, kinda tough to kill, stays back there until he needs to get out. And then if he is chasing you down, he can get the picks, but he doesn't do enough damage to deal with two supports. I don't think they're ever going to buff him in that regard. If they ever do, he is going to be a menace. Still though, really great for kind of stalling points, staying alive, letting your team come back. Ultimate is kind of iffy for the rest of your team. God, I think the thing dropped off hard this season. Not that he wasn't good before, just he's not really a good solo tank. He's mostly an off tank, or he can help deal with the divers and the flyers, but it's very like situational cases. Situationally, the thing is like an easy S tier. As a general, not so much. He has nothing for blocking. He can give some shields, which is nice, but mostly he is a second tank. He's an off tank. He has to be up close to deal damage. And I don't know what it is. I don't know how to play the thing, because anytime I do touch him, I just get melted every single time. But I think the thing, honestly, is one of the most enjoyable tanks to actually fight. He has an amazing ultimate. And then he has his team up with Torch, who is, I think, the best DPS at the moment, where he can drop in, kind of dive bomb the enemy backline or enemy team, stun them, use his shift ability, lock him down again, and get picks that way. And then, of course, he has his charge ability to get out if need be. In the end, the thing is situationally such an amazing tank, but it really depends on the circumstance. Magneto, obviously, I actually can't decide if Magneto is better than Groot. I am gonna put Groot above Magneto. Normally, Magneto is just like top tier of the list. Magneto, also same kind of deal. Projectiles is his main game. Insane burst damage, which is really nice. Not as much like technical abilities. His big wall shield only lasts a second and a half, and while it is very strong, doesn't last very long. He can throw his bubbles onto allies or himself to save them from damage, or ultimates like Jeff's swallow ability. His team up is with Emma Frost to get 2 up Magneto, which is very strong, but he's had better ones. I missed the Scarlet Witch one. His passive ability, Slow Fall, this sucks. That's all there is to say about it. His basic attack also has a little bit of a lag to it, which can make it a little bit difficult to land shots if someone's moving very fast. But at the end of the day, Magneto is a cockroach. He's not shielding as much damage as Groot will. He's not dealing as much damage as like Emma Frost will. His ultimate is strong and scary, and you can eliminate support ults with it, but it is actually a little bit of a pain in the butt to land that consistently. I think they keep nerfing him just slightly too much, where if he does receive another nerf, I think he might fall down to A tier. Like right now, Magneto is, no, I decided more on it. Magneto is like bottom of S tier. He has been S tier for so darn long, but they keep reducing him. And then someone who is top, tippity top of A tier, just like a couple hairs off of S tier. We do have Doctor Strange. Incredible team up with Scarlet Witch, which makes her incredible, but does nothing really for Doctor Strange. His biggest con, I'm sure you know it, is that dark energy meter charge up, where if it hits 100, he is not being healed. You can use his E ability to release that dark energy, which is very strong, especially when tied with his ultimate. But if Doctor Strange is solo tanking, that causes the biggest drawback, because as a support, there's nothing more disheartening than trying to heal your Doctor Strange when he's shielding and you can't because he's at that full 100%. And if he was to pop his E ability, he'd be killed before you could properly heal him. His ultimate is also pretty cool. Unfortunately, it does get countered a lot, and it's easy to tell when it's happening. I actually can't remember the last time I've been caught in that. But primarily, Doctor Strange is known for two things. One, his teleport ability, which is very strong, very good. If you have not used it before, really, you should learn how to do it. And then his ginormous shield. It's a big, beautiful shield, blocks everything. I think that's why Doctor Strange has remained tried and true for so long. Although a while ago he did drop from S tier because they kept nerfing him. They made him weaker, they got rid of his cool team up with the Hulk, they nerfed his shield and his health, I believe. And so that's not to say that Doctor Strange is bad by any means, it's just that we know what would make him S tier, and I highly doubt that they're going to bring that back. He's not a bad solo tank either, but I do find he's one of those characters that really does shine better if there is another frontline tank. And now we can't forget Venom. I think he is just slightly better than Captain America, but like nowhere near Doctor Strange level worthiness. Basically, Doctor Strange is the last solo tank that can be done proper, and that is the rest of them. With Venom, he's not so much as a cockroach as like Magneto, but he's good for getting in a ton of damage and getting picks if you know how to play him right. Very tricky to get well with Venom because you gotta land 4 shots that land in different areas at different times. But he has incredible mobility. He has his dive ability. His main thing is his combo, which is dive, use your tendrils, attack twice, and then ultimate. And that sounds cool. It does get picks if you land it right, but then you have to wait for your ultimate ability to charge up again to really get the most out of him, which is a little bit lackluster, but he can solidly get picks. And then with his swing ability, if you're ever low on health, you can swing out and that can be hard to hit, which I think makes him just a little bit better than Captain America. He also has his E ability, which the lower health you have when you pop it, the more overshield that you get. I don't recommend staying in once you pop that. It's time to GTFO to get healed up when that happens. But Venom is a greatly underappreciated strong tank where you can hang out in the front line, although you're mostly like going up and diving in, so you're not really in the front line all that much, but you can hang out there. He's mostly better in the back line, causing panic, causing havoc, diving the supports, diving the snipers. He is a really good tank, but he's a good off tank. He's a good dive tank. Definitely not a solo tank, but if you have a dive composition, very strong. And if you have another main tank, he's also very strong that way too. I do think that dive is very important to win games. Not that dive is fun to play against, but when two teams are kind of stonewalling each other and you need to kind of break the enemy backline a little bit, Venom is a solid choice for that. He has a team up with Jeff. It's garbage by all means. I can't recommend it in any capacity. With Hela, it's honestly pretty decent because it slows down enemies to allow you to hit them better. His tendrils do slow down enemies as well, but not enough that I've noticed any real difference for. They need to buff him a tiny bit. I don't know if it's like a new ability that he needs or just a little bit more damage or a new team up, something along those lines. He just needs something extra to make him the pinnacle of what he can be. I think he would still be A tier because he's an off tank, but still, they can make it better. And then that is it for the Vanguards in this season of Marvel Rivals. You know what? I'm going to add in Reed. Middle of B tier, at least above the Hulk. Reed, great team up with Inviswoman to give him that little bit bonus healing overshield. Reed is pretty tanky when he does transform. He can be actually pretty darn hard to kill. His ultimate is honestly pretty strong on top of all things. Unfortunately, he's not very good with getting picks, I find. He's good for dealing damage, getting hits in, and he can hang out in the front line, which is where you'll normally see him. Not a good solo tank by any means, but I find he's best used if there is only one tank and you need someone else on the front line. When you have two tanks, he's just not it. I changed my mind. He is in C tier above Peni. Because again, really good if there is one tank already on your team. Not so great if there is two tanks and you need to have two DPS. Just because he is a little bit lackluster with his damage output. But he is incredibly hard to kill, which kind of fits perfectly for what you do want as a tank. And most of the times you don't want 3 tanks on your team. I'm not sure how I'll name the video because of that, but this is where I think all the tanks sit currently in Season 3.5. No tank is really awful to play. Some definitely are situational. But for the most part, you're going to have a good time with any of the tanks. But really, you should be using either Emma, Groot, and Magneto, or some combination of that. And if you're not playing Emma, you really ought to ban her. And that's a wrap on this Vanguard tier list for Season 3.5 of Marvel Rivals. Tell me, do you think I got someone wrong or they should be in a different place? Let me know in the comments below. And while you're down there, hit that like button if you're still watching, subscribe for more videos like this if you haven't already, and stay tuned for the next one. YouTube thinks you like this video next? Let me know if you do.